Hello and welcome to episode number 51 of The Pitcher or the Hitter, the podcast by the M-SABR Dynasty League for the M-SABR Dynasty League. I am Cam.
I'm Sahil.
And it's our first fully off-season podcast, and we've got a big one today. We are doing the draft lottery live on the show. I guess it won't be live for you when you're listening to it, but it's going to be live for us. We haven't recorded the segment yet, so we will be finding out, and you'll be hearing our live reactions to how this draft lottery goes and who's going to get the number one seed. Hopefully it's me.
Yeah, I'm excited. And we're also going to announce the start of the awards period. We, in the interest of kind of getting everybody on the same page for some of the awards, have selected some finalists for you all to pick. Erik kind of went through and picked them and consulted me and Cam before he finalized the list. So we're excited to go through that as well. I think first we wanted to discuss the rule changes that we've all voted on this week. There were several that we went through, and I'm just going to go down the list here. The first one is that instead of two divisions, we are now down to one division. How do you feel about that, Cam?
Yeah, so this one was it's kind of a big one. And it was a unanimous vote, 10-0 to eliminate divisions, but I can't imagine anyone feels that strongly about it. In my opinion, it is a little sad to lose the Burke division and the Pool division. But really the divisions didn't serve much of a purpose anyway, other than the fact that it was just kind of messing with the schedule, and you were guaranteed to play the teams in your division twice, whereas there was one team in the other division that you would only play once. And I guess a couple rivalries sprung from the divisional play, but really the divisions weren't serving much of a purpose anyway, and we've decided to fully get rid of them.
Yeah, I mean, once we changed that the divisions would not determine who got the buys, like I think that pretty much killed any real value of having the divisions. It's interesting because we voted on this last year and people didn't want to get rid of the divisions, but they just diminished the importance of it. And I think finally we just recognized that there really was no reason to have the divisions. I think this is a smart move, but I think you kind of alluded to this, so we'll jump here. We only, you were guaranteed to play your division twice, and there's one team out of your division this year that we only played once. Now, we started doing that because we're ending the playoffs a week earlier now, which we didn't do our first two seasons. We went right up until the end of the regular season. So in those first two seasons, we were able to play everybody twice. That's not the case now. And now the way that we're going to do it is that the team that you only play once is a team that was opposite you in the division, or in the league. So the number one team only plays the number 12 team once, number two plays number 11 once, and so on and so forth. I personally like this because I think it creates a bit more of a balanced schedule, and it makes it a little harder for the team who were coming off really good seasons, and makes it a little easier for some of the teams coming off worse seasons. So maybe that improves parity. And I know, like, for example, this year I only played Zane once, despite the fact that we were coming off a season where I played him in the finals, and I thought that was pretty ridiculous. So I'm really happy about this change. What do you think, Cam?
Yeah, so this is one I feel like it probably had to happen once we got rid of divisions. We needed a way to balance the schedule other than pure randomness. And this one mostly, I feel like it came about largely due to you are complaining about the fact that you only got to play Zane once, which, I mean, hey, good for you for wanting a tougher schedule, although I guess it didn't turn out to be that difficult. And now as the previous one seed, one thing that needs to be clarified for me, are we counting Erik as the number one, since the same way it is for draft order, whereas he would be the one who would only have to play Team GDA, Greg Daniel Alex once, or would it be just based on playoff seeding, whereas you would be the team that would only have to play that team once?
You know what? That's a great question. This is a policy I've implemented in like my fantasy football leagues to balance out the schedule. And there we solely base it off regular season record and we don't base it off what happens in the playoffs. And that's kind of why I proposed this in the first place. But that's definitely something we have to consult Erik about. And I wonder if that's something that we might end up voting on. But I mean, I personally think that we could do it off regular season record, just given that, this allows everybody to play the same, 21, games, over the same 21 weeks. That's how you're determining a schedule. But, I also see the benefits of, kind of doing it how we're doing the draft order and doing it based off playoff finishes as well. But I think it's definitely something we're going to have to decide. So maybe it's another rule change we just thought about. So there you go.
Yeah, I think regular season makes more sense in general for, I guess, just in terms of competitive balance. Although I guess I would be fine the other way.
Well, think about like the NFL does it based off of regular season record only.
Yeah, that's true, but that's kind of based on divisions, which a division placement in a division, which we don't have. But I guess that is regular season. So
no, well, it's like each year you play 2 games for the 2 teams or the 2 divisions in your conference that you're not scheduled to play that year. You played a team who finished in the same place as you, and they've added the same thing for one of the for one of the opposing conferences now each year as well, with the addition of the 17th game. Again, a very stupid addition in my opinion, but I wonder if that's just a better system.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree that based on solely regular season makes more sense. But yeah, it's something we'll need to discuss and something we'll need to vote on. And either way, the schedule is going to be mixed up so that it's not just not just cycling through the same order as it was the first time, and it'll allow for kind of more fun. We'll be able to maybe have a rivalry week the last weekend, and that's something that I would be really looking forward to.
Absolutely, and although we were mixing it up, I think the one thing that we kind of emphasized was that everybody's going to play each other once in this first 11 weeks, which I like, so that we can wrap up the first half of the schedule with everybody having played each other once, and we could kind of make those comparisons, do a good comprehensive set of power rankings like we did last year. So I really like that, but not having to play everybody in the same order again, I think is just going to be really beneficial. And spice things up a bit. Shout out to Andrew for being the one who really pushed through that in the hockey league. And I think that's partially what motivated us to do it here.
Yeah, no, definitely. A lot of changes in the hockey league are inspiring us here. For example, the preseason, the poll, just voting on certain things, various, that kind of gives me the idea of having a group power rankings. As opposed to just ours, the 2 of us. But anyway, they had people vote on a variety of questions. A survey, that's the word I'm looking for. He surveyed the league, and there were, and with a DHgate jersey reward for the team that gets the most questions right. And I think that's just something we could steal for our league with Andrew's permission. And it's a lot of fun. So they're doing a lot of great things in that league is basically my point.
No, absolutely. I think that'd be really interesting. I know last year we tried to get people to submit their power rankings as part of kind of one of the podcast episodes. I don't think it really caught on too much, but I definitely love to do some more interactive stuff like that to get people involved.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so having that rivalry week at the end of the season, it'd be interesting to see who gets paired off with whom. It'd be fun. Maybe that I know Ruthvik and Yuki we've talked about as rivals, although Andrew and Yuki have a rivalry. But on the other hand, it'd be fun to have Andrew and Greg paired off. And then as for the top 3 of Yumi and Erik, it'd be interesting to see who gets paired with whom there. I mean, on one hand, I could go with Erik and you could go with Ruthvik if Ruthvik doesn't go with Yuki. But there's there's a lot going on, and it could be fun, or maybe I could end up with, I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe
Definitely,
it's me and
yeah.
Connor.
We're gonna have to figure out kind of a good way to go about that. I'm not really sure what that looks like, but I'm sure kind of once ESPN kind of resets itself for next season, we can have more of those discussions because we can't alter the schedule on there until then. So
Yeah, what if we sent out a poll? Each team gets one vote. They name their top three rivals, and we just kind of break it up that way, getting the most people their top choice or one of their top two choices.
that would be fun. I'd be all for that.
Yeah, it'd also be fun to see who each team considers their rival as opposed to just our weird speculation.
Oh, absolutely. I would be all for that, making it publicized and kind of discussing this on a future podcast. I think that would be great.
Mhm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, were there any other rule changes here?
Yeah, just one last one. We're now officially enforcing the 12 start rule. So previously, if you were going into Sunday with 11 starts, you could start pretty much an unlimited amount of starting pitchers, and you would still be fine. But if you would hit 12 on Saturday, you would not be able to start anyone on Sunday. Now, no matter what, we are enforcing 12 starts. If you have 11 going into Sunday, you can only start one more. And if you start two or more, you vacate all of your starting pitcher stats for that day. I know I've personally benefited from being able to finagle an extra start at times, but I'm all for this rule. I think anything that we could do to level the playing field and actually get people to kind of abide by a strict set of rules, I'm all for. But what do you think, Cam?
Yeah, I like it. It kind of closes a loophole there that teams were exploiting. And yeah, like you said, it increases the competitive balance because it really reduces some of the need to hoard starting pitchers. I feel like, especially this year, starting pitchers have been hoarded, and it was just impossible down the stretch to find anyone to stream. Like I got lucky with Paulo Espino, but I know you got burned with someone, and a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
got
people.
burned with like three pitchers. I won 0 for 3 on quality starts with streaming in the semifinals, including Nick Pivetta against the Orioles. I think Jordan
Yeah,
Miles is one, and I'm forgetting who the other one I streamed was. Oh, J. Happ. That's what it was.
yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so I mean, people are being forced to stream Jay Happ, who is like got a 6 ERA, and I mean, it's nice to just have a couple mildly decent options available, so you're not going for like the 26th ranked uh, guy of the day on pitcher list, for example, going deep into the do not start under any circumstances type of guys. And I think, yeah, it'll increase the competitive balance and maybe have some teams trade away an extra starting pitcher if they have one to a team that could use an extra starting pitcher.
Yeah, that's why I've been hoarding starting pitchers forever. I've always believed I needed to have 10, and I try not to scream unless I'm very much in trouble because I just think it is so hard to find good quality starting pitching. And I think you're right. This could affect whether people hoard starting pitchers or not. I still tend to think that they will, especially because most weeks, like with me, even when I have like 9, 10 starting pitchers on my roster, I don't necessarily always hit that 12 start limit due to like injuries or not having as many 2 start weeks. But I think, it's definitely going to affect to some degree how people play the game. And I'll be curious to see how that works out. I honestly, I think it might have a bigger effect in the playoffs. I know in both my semifinal matchups the last 2 years, I've used 13 starts, which is not a total I believe I hit in either regular season, either last year or the year before. So, or either this year or the year before. So, I wonder if that's where we're going to see the bigger effect, to be honest.
I think it might be, honestly. Yeah, just because I don't know, streaming is easier in the playoffs, but also the fact that the teams in the playoffs have their guys They're more likely to have more starting pitchers anyway.
Yeah.
And it'll, just kind of cause people, if they do have all these guys, to be forced to maybe sit a start at some point during the week, and that there are a lot of ramifications from that. And it just adds something else, just a different flavor.
Well, I also think the desperation factor too, in the regular season, I'm willing to, potentially take an L if for not streaming a starting pitcher and maybe cutting somebody I'd like to keep on my roster versus on a Sunday of a playoff matchup where I'm like, oh shit, if I don't, win this, like I'm out, I might be more willing to make a couple drops to get those additional streamers. And I think you've seen that the past couple finals matchups where you've seen like Erik drop Greinke, I dropped Chris Taylor last year. We'll see. I think that one might be the most significant change. I think, in terms of kind of gameplay from our rule changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think so. At first glance, I would say the getting rid of divisions is like the big flashy change, but that doesn't really affect much. Whereas this one, it will affect a lot, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's more of what I'm looking at. What's going to have a functional change as opposed to a surface level change. But there was one more rule change I neglected to mention earlier. We did slightly adjust the tiebreakers. So the first tiebreaker is still head-to-head, but without divisions now, the second tiebreaker is going to be based on the categories won in those head-to-head matchups. So, for example, if one team won the first matchup 8-4 and they lost the second matchup 3-9, they would have won only 11 of the 24 categories between those weeks, and therefore the other team would win the tiebreaker. And if those are tied, which I wouldn't be surprised because we've seen a ridiculous number of ties this year, the third tiebreaker is going to be what your head-to-head matchup of your entire roto season would be, and that would determine who advances. So if you had better stats in 7 of the 12 categories overall, roto-wise over the course of the year, you would own the tiebreaker. And I guess we never really announced a tiebreaker after that, but I can't imagine we're going to have to reach that fourth tiebreaker.
Wait, so to clarify, is it overall roto standings who would lead if we calculate roto standings, or is it?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not who leads more categories at the end of the year.
Well, the functionally means the same thing.
Well, not necessarily. You could be up by if you're leading.
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, I see what you're saying. You know what? I think it needs a little bit of clarification. What I propose is who's leading the most categories is kind of what I proposed to Erik, and I think Erik put that forth in the chat, but I definitely think that's worth clarifying.
Yeah, no, just because you could be leading, because you could be leading 11, you could be leading 10 categories by one, and then tied in another, and then the 12th category, you could be first and the other person could be last, or I mean, the other person could be first and you could be last, and that would give you two separate answers. One person would be leading most categories, but the other person would have been leading the roto standing. So there's just a lot, and I guess it's a question as to which do you think makes the team better.
Well, the scenario you outlined is a bit extreme, but that's kind of why I like the idea of the most categories. But also, I think the roto, as was proven last year, was a pretty effective method of kind of determining the playoff teams, and I wouldn't be opposed to just using that again. And I don't know. I think either way would be fine. I mean, I think the odds of us really needing to get to that tiebreaker, I think, are pretty low. But I think it's definitely something worth discussing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It seems we've got as many questions as answers coming out of this segment, but It's always good to clarify things so we know what we're getting into here, because weird things happen in this league.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, who would have guessed that we'd have the number of ties that we did this year? I mean, it's just shit happens, and we'll figure it out as we go.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's all for the rule changes. Was there anything else that we wanted to kind of go through?
There were a couple minor ad drops this week. I'm not sure if any of them are super worth mentioning. Erik picked up Anthony Gose, who's an interesting guy. Obviously, the outfielder turned into a reliever. And you added Harrison Bader, who's kind of been added a lot lately. He had a solid September. But yeah, is there anything specific that you want to give some time to?
I just say it's cool that Ghost is back, and it's kind of interesting that Erik added him. That really feels like an Erik ad. I don't think he necessarily sticks with this team the entire offseason, but cool nonetheless. I think Bader could be interesting just because he really came on in the second half. He was a little banged up in the first half, and it was really one bad month in the first half that kind of sank him. So, again, not sure he's the type of guy I'd keep, but I think he's a little interesting. And then Gio Urshela was also someone I picked up who has kind of floated around rosters over the past couple of years. He's been relevant at times. He's been less than relevant at other times. He has shortstop eligibility now, which I think is a little interesting. And he's going to retain that next year. But I don't think any of these were ads on the level of like Zach Greinke during the finals week, for example. But definitely worth mentioning. We'll keep track of the waiver wire kind of throughout the offseason. And if there is an interesting move or two that comes up, we'll definitely, hit on that in addition to any trades that go down. Seems like we're in a quiet period for trades right now, which is a little interesting to me given that last season at this time, Erik had already made his Jose Ramirez deal with Alex. But I guess with COVID not necessarily locking us in our houses, maybe there's a little less time to make trades. We have the basketball league, we have the hockey league. So maybe I shouldn't be as surprised, but we'll see if the trade market picks up soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, we certainly will. I hope it does. I know I don't have anything planned, but yeah, no, it's quiet around here, but nothing wrong with that. And yeah, so we are going to take a break right now, but we'll be back with Erik to go ahead and talk about who some of the award finalists are, and then eventually go into that lottery.
Yep. See you in a bit.
All right, see you in a bit. All right, we are back now with League Commissioner Erik McMahon, and he is going to do the draft lottery live on air with us. It's going to be a ton of fun. But before that, he's going to announce the finalists for some of the awards for this offseason. So first of all, how are you doing, Erik?
Great. How are you guys?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah, so we so last year when we did the awards, a lot of us found it difficult to kind of narrow down some of these awards. Like we were fine with MVP and best players at each position. But for some of them, the best hitter pickup and pitcher pickup, as well as some of the offseason trades, we found it kind of difficult to narrow down all the options. So what a better way to kind of solve that than by picking finalists?
Yeah, for sure. I know instead of all of us doing a lot of work, it's just me that has to do all the work this year.
I'm not complaining about that.
Yeah, we're glad you did it. We helped out a little bit, but yeah, it was mostly you. And thank you for doing all that. And we have some good options.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, definitely a lot of good options this year.
All right. So yeah, where do you want to start here? And we're not here to, I guess, give our opinions on them. We'll save that for the announcement video, for the announcement episode. But which was the first category that we have finalists for?
We have best off-season hitter pickup, and there were really only two good options for this one. We got Brian Reynolds, who was picked up by Andrew, and then Adam Frazier, who's picked up by Cam.
All right, yeah, both guys had good seasons. And yeah, so off-season pitcher, who are our options there?
Yep, only two decent options for this one too. Both of them relievers. Jake McGee by Andrew and Blake Trinan by Sahil.
Love me some Blake Trinan.
Yeah, love me some Jake McGee.
That you do. All right. Best in-season hitter pickups next.
Yep, there were a lot of good options for this one, and then the three of us narrowed it down to four. We got Cedric Mullins by Daniel and Alex, Brandon Crawford also by Daniel and Alex, Tyler O'Neill by me, and Robbie Grossman by Alex and Zach.
I was not aware that Brandon Crawford was an in-season hitter pickup. I thought they had him all along. Damn, it's a nice pickup.
Yeah, for sure. I think they picked him up like just a week and a half or 2 weeks into the season too.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, they did well on the free agency, surprisingly well, especially early in the year.
Yeah, for sure. And then for this year we're gonna split it up for in-season pitcher pickups. We're gonna have two different awards, one for starters and one for relievers. And the finalists for the starters, there's also a lot of really good options, but when you narrowed it down to five, we have Carlos Rodon by Connor and Connor, Logan Webb by Ruth Vick and Nick, Ranger Suarez by Andrew, finishing the year as a starter, and then Cal Conchel and Luis Garcia, both by Yuki.
What's interesting about, I believe, all five of these guys is they're just kind of post-prospect guys who had breakout years this year. It's going to be kind of tough to differentiate between them, but it'll be a good category for sure.
Yeah, a case can be made for any one of them really. So it'd be interesting to see where the votes go for this one.
Absolutely. What about the relief pitchers? Who do we have?
Yep. And then for the best in-season reliever pickups, we got the finalists as Tyler Rogers by EVO, Andrew Chafin by Connor, and then Jonathan Loizaga by Sahil.
Love me some Loizaga. He was a great addition this year. Rogers and Chafin also great years.
Yeah, surprised that Rogers was a free agent to start the year, but yeah, all good choices.
Yeah, go ahead, Erik.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, I love to watch Rogers pitch just because it's like so low to the ground. It's crazy. All right, then we got the finalists for the in-season trades. For the lopsided category, we have Sandy Alcantara for Ronnie Mauricio and Chris Flexen. We have Salvador Perez, Aaron Savali, Luis Medina, and a first rounder for Jose Barrios. And then we also have Kyle Gibson, Gregory Santos, and a third rounder for DL Hall.
All great trades. As usual, we seem to have a lot of big trades. So I imagine that this is pretty hard to kind of narrow down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then for the surprising in-season trade category, we have Robbie Ray in a second for Ryan McMahon and Fristar Gratterall. We have Erik Hosmer and Dylan Moore for Tommy Pham. And then we have the Manny Machado, Marco Luciano deal.
Erik Hosmer, Dylan Moore, what garbage.
That's surprising. I was surprised by that Robbie Ray deal because I had assumed that I was about to trade for Robbie Ray when it was announced. So that one, I'm not going to say that it has my vote, but I was shocked by it.
I'm glad he didn't go to Cam. I'll say that much. Although Connor did use him quite effectively against me, unfortunately.
Yeah, I wonder how the season would have gone had I had Robbie Ray. We will see, or Framber Valdez for that matter.
So many what ifs, especially 4 seasons in now. So many what ifs.
Yeah. So for off-season trades for the lopsided category, we have we have 4 finalists. We have Marcus Simeon for Tenas Thomas in the 3rd rounder. We have
Hey, that 3rd rounder turned into Tyler Soderstrom, so I can. There's a little bit of defense to that one, but it hurts.
I don't know about that, but okay.
Other finalists are Marcelo Zuna, Kyle Seeger, Drew Pomeranz, and Keegan Aiken for Sixto Sanchez, Whit Merrifield, Mike Yastrzemski, and Frankie Montas. Actually, it's not that bad considering Seeger was good, but Ozuna, Pomeranz, and Aiken were basically nothing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's a big one. I'm not sure if it's the most lopsided, but it's kind of a big one and fun one to look back at.
Yeah. And then other options, we have the Brandon Lau for Kevin Biggio deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Eddie Rosario, Eduardo Rodriguez, Jameson Taillon, a 1st and a 2nd for Brandon Woodruff, Joey Wendell, and Heriberto Hernandez.
It's fitting that I end up on this list twice, but one, a trade in which I very much win, and one, a trade which I very much lost. But you win some, you lose some, I guess.
Yeah. Now we move to the surprising category for off-season. We also have 4 in this one. First one is the monster deal. I believe it's still the biggest deal in history, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it is the Andrew and Connor deal, where it was Adalberto Mondesi, Michael Kopech, Tristan McKenzie, Ronnie Mauricio, Isaiah Falafel, Jesus Sanchez for Stark Gratterall, Austin Hayes in the 3rd for Ozzy Albies, Victor Robles, Brian Hayes, Francisco Alvarez, Ethan Hankins, a 1st and a 3rd.
That's a big one.
Very big indeed. I still remember the night it went down.
And then other 3 finalists are maybe the biggest deal considering the level of player in them. Trevor Story, Jose Barrios, and a lot of firsts, still TBD on those for Fernando Tatis. And then we have Max.
Giovanni Gallegos, integral part of that trade.
Oh, yeah.
Good season. Getting the holds early on and getting some saves later on. Great part of my bullpen.
Okay, and then we have Max Scherzer, Casey Mize, Riley Green, Julio Urias, Heriberto Hernandez for Max Fried, Sixto Sanchez, Luke Voigt, Monte Harrison, and Jarren Duran. I believe this is the first big trade that ABO made when they declared that they were doing the reliever strategy, right?
I think it might have been.
Yeah, it was. That was kind of the beginning of it. And it's funny because they traded Fried maybe a week later to me. I don't think any of those players are still in their roster. Not Sixto, not Voigt, not Monte Harrison and Jarren Duran might. I think Duran is, but I don't know if Monte Harrison's still in their roster. I'd have to double check that.
I thought Duran was with Ruthvik.
No, Duran's still with EBO, but Monte Harrison is long gone.
Yep, and then last last finalist for the surprising offseason is the Heriberto Hernandez trade.
Oh, the Heriberto Hernandez trade. There are three Heriberto Hernandez trades in this out of the 8 in the offseason trade nominees, but obviously we know which one this is. That was wow.
Yep.
That was a doozy.
Yeah, and those are all the categories that we thought people didn't want to dig through. The rest of them, y'all can do your research, but shouldn't take too long.
Absolutely. No, this is going to be exciting. I had a lot of fun voting for the awards last year and giving a lot of thought as to who I should pick. I'm sure that, the rest of the league will also give it a lot of thought. And I'm excited to do the awards reveal live on air in a few weeks or maybe even sooner, depending on what our timeline is. But yeah,
Yeah.
anything else with the awards, or do we want to shift our attention over to the draft lottery?
Yeah, no, I'm just also excited to vote on the awards. And excited to get the results. See who's chosen, and yeah, we'll have those results for you in our next episode, whenever that is. And we're thankfully not on a strict 1 week timeline anymore.
Yeah, no, thank God. Actually, we are recording this today as the Cardinals and the Dodgers are are facing each other in the NL wildcard game. It's currently the bottom of the third inning with the 1-0 lead for the Cardinals.
Future Gallardo Award winner Cody Bellinger just drew a walk. We're bringing that back.
And yeah, we are. Cody Bellinger has not had a good season. Yikes.
Yeah, no, I actually just today was working on my list of nominees or list of people I want.
Ooh.
And the front runners for least valuable player and worst starting pitcher are former MVP and Cy Young winners. So that's kind of fun.
I mean, Bellinger for the MVP. I'm curious who the former Cy Young Award winner would be for a pitcher.
Jake Arrieta.
Oh man. Wow, he had a terrible year. I forgot about
And actually, Max Scherzer, who is currently batting, is you can see his batting line on your screen right now, and you can see why he is the aluminum slugger at pitcher. 0 for 59 this season.
Oh man.
But anyway, enough of that. Yeah, are we ready to dive into the lottery?
Yeah, let's do it. So obviously, the lottery is always a really interesting process. And as we've seen with our other dynasty leagues, it doesn't always go as we think. I think I mentioned last week, Yuki had the worst odds to get the top spot in the basketball league. And he ended up getting the top spot after just narrowly missing the playoffs due to a tiebreaker with Zane. But I'm excited to see how this year's lottery goes, just to kind of refresh everybody on the odds. Andrew leads our odds with a 30% chance. That's due to the fact that he owns his own pick with 20% odds, and he owns Ruth Vick and Nick's pick, which has 10%, a 10% chance of being the number one overall pick. Greg, Daniel, and Alex own their own pick. They have a 20% chance of getting the number one pick, as does Yuki and Alex and Zach, who both own their own picks. And Cam, you have a 10% chance by virtue of owning Jake and Clayton's pick. They narrowly missed the playoffs after losing in the last week of the regular season. So if history repeats itself like the basketball league, you get the number one overall pick, which I don't think anybody wants to see.
Speak for yourself.
That could be a reality. Yeah, I guess there is one person in the league of like the 20 of us who wants to see that happen. I think the rest of us would like to see literally anybody else get that top spot. For a lot of good candidates.
Well, which team would you say needs this pick the most? I mean, obviously you seem to think that I don't need it. I would very much like it, but who of these lottery teams could really use this pick the most to jumpstart their farm?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have to be Greg, Daniel, and Alex or Yuki. I mean, I think if you're looking at Yuki's farm, it really lacks kind of that a lot of top end talent. I mean, Asa Lacy struggled this year. Corbin Carroll and Christian Robinson have been solid prospects, but I wouldn't necessarily, call them like top prospects. Like, I don't see them as like top 10 prospects necessarily. And nobody else really stands out. I mean, Gabriel Moreno had a solid year, but in a very small sample size. Jackson Kowar has some potential, but I feel like Yuki kind of really needs that top like prospect in his farm system to like really make it stand out a little more. And And I think for Greg, Alex, and Daniel, let me see if I can pull their roster up quickly. I think they're also similarly kind of lacking that top guy. They do have Austin Martin, who I think definitely qualifies, but I think they need somebody else to pair with him. And I think the common theme with both of these teams is they just lack kind of a lot of top end talent in the majors too. So any top end pieces that they can get, whether prospects or major leaguers, I think is really necessary for them if they're going to jumpstart their farm. And I'd say the rest of the teams either have a really good farm or a solid enough major league roster where I don't think getting number one, while would be very helpful, is nearly as critical for them.
Mm-hmm. So we're in agreement that Yuki's taking Henry Davis, right? Wherever he gets picks.
I mean, I don't know. At some point, he has to acknowledge he has too many catchers, right? I mean, I think he might be in the business of trading away some of these catchers this offseason if he ever kind of, I don't know, gets some courage. I stated this earlier. Why he didn't trade Buster Posey at the trade deadline makes zero sense to me. Why he didn't trade away some of his older players made no sense to me. Maybe Henry Davis he views as the JT Real Muto replacement.
Maybe. And Davis he could most likely get at 2 or 3, perhaps. I think he could, even though he was the number 1 pick in the major league draft. So maybe if that's the guy he has his mindset on, then maybe you would say that Greg, Daniel, and Alex need this pick the most in order to get their guy. They did get Austin Martin last year. Yuki did take Nick Gonzalez. No, never mind. That was Erik with Yuki's pick. Yuki did take Asa Lacy with his 5th overall pick, who did struggle, like you said. So maybe picking at the top end of the draft, he could use a win there. But yeah, as we said, Andrew is the one who has the best odds. And we actually spoke with Andrew a couple days ago about his feelings about his odds for the draft and about his farm system and just about what his plan is for the offseason. So let's take a listen to that. All right, we are here now with Andrew, owner of 2 picks in this lottery and owner of the best odds to get the number 1 pick in the upcoming draft. How are you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing great. It's kind of silly. I feel okay about my odds, but at the same time, I'm getting used to this sitting in this chair year after year. So maybe it's time for a change. Maybe I'm not so happy about this, but I'm excited to see what can come out of this year's class. I don't think there's maybe as clear cut a number 1. I think there's maybe a couple of good options coming out of this year's draft, but I feel okay at my 30% chance of ending up with the 1st overall pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct. And you did end up with the number 1 overall pick last year after the lottery. You took Spencer Torkelson, who was the easy choice. And you just said there's no real clear-cut guy this year, but if there was, or I guess if you do end up picking number 1, is there someone you have in mind?
I think unless there's some rock star international signing, I think I'd probably end up going with Marcelo Mayer if it was today. Of course, a lot can happen in 3 months. So, we'll see what ends up happening between now and January or February when the actual draft is. But I think if I were number 1 today, I think probably the best choice is Marcelo Mayer from sort of a fantasy standpoint.
That makes sense. I mean, I thought he had a chance to go number 1 overall in the MLB draft itself. I was kind of surprised that the Pirates took Henry Davis over him. But yeah, and I mean, how are you feeling about the farm overall now? Because I mean, obviously you took Torkelson, but the year before that you got Blade. You won a few more games this year than everybody thought. What do you think these 2 picks are going to do to the farm? Do you think it's where do you think you see yourself in farm system rankings right now?
Well, I asked Cam for some down low farm rankings, and I was a lot higher up than I thought I was going to be. I think I was, I don't know, 3rd or 4th earlier in the season. So I feel a lot better, as I was kind of selling this year. I was happy to scrape across a couple wins, but as I was selling, I was trying to stock up on those starting pitchers. I know they're kind of a lottery ticket as they come, so I'm excited. I think two of my, both of those top six picks are going to end up, only bolstering the farm, and maybe they'll be open to trade depending on how close we get to the draft and where my team ends up looking for next year.
Man, that was
Yeah,
going to be
no.
my next question, whether or not you're going to keep both of those picks. But I think that's definitely something interesting we're going to have to look at given this league's proclivity to trades. But man, no, it's going to be fun.
And yeah, going into the draft, or at least into the lottery, Fangraphs, according to Fangraphs, you have the number 4 farm system, and according to Fantrax, you have the number 5 farm system. So with some good picks here, you could end up in the top 3 in both. It's a very big draft for you.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I mean, there's no trophy, no prize money, no, I don't know, no winnings go to the top farm system every year, but I guess it's nice to have my name up towards the top of some leaderboard. If the Crone Zone can't compete, then the Cron Zone certainly will be able to.
You know what they say, a good farm system eventually makes it up to your major league roster, and maybe the Cron Zone will graduate to the Crone Zone and bring the Crone Zone up to the top.
We sure hope so. We sure hope so. Certainly a bunch of moves left to be made. So, as we get through the winter, I won't be as active in the baseball league, but I'm certainly going to keep my eye out watching these prospect rankings as we get closer and closer to the draft. I'm just excited to see how this lottery is going to turn out.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. And with that, thank you, Andrew, for coming on, and let's get back to the lottery. All right, and thank you again, Andrew, for coming on to talk with us briefly there. And so Andrew spoke to Marcelo Meyer as being one of the guys that he was interested in taking with that, with his pick if he does end up at the top, which, like we've said, he has the best odds of doing. Who are some other guys we think could be going in the lottery this year?
I mean, I think it's hard to avoid Jack Leiter. I think he might be the best pitcher in this draft. I think the Rangers really got a good one, and for a team that's really looking to add an impact starting pitcher to the farm, I mean, I think he could honestly go as high as 1 in a draft where I don't really think there's a consensus top pick like there's been the past couple of years with like Torkelson and Adley Rutschman, even though Adley didn't go first because Connor's a White Sox fan. And also Jackson Joby, if a Tigers fan, gets one of these early picks and really wants to capitalize, and they really think that, he has the talent, which I think he has the potential for as well. And there's definitely a lot of other high quality bats out there as well. I do think Meyer's the best of the bats, but obviously Henry Davis is really good. I like the Orioles pick of Colton Cowser, although I don't think he's going to go number 1. And there are a lot of really good young shortstop prospects that were drafted too that I can conceivably see going high as well. So it's a nice bunch this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A lot of, like you said, those shortstops, Khalil Watson and Jordan Lawler both could go early. And for the record, Marcelo Meyer is 9th on MLB's prospect rankings. Lawler is 2nd from the draft at number 13, followed by Henry Davis at 22, Khalil Watson 27. And then you have to go down quite a ways further to get the next few people here. Joby is 46th, unless I missed someone in between. But yeah, no, that just kind of goes to show the top 4 or 5 guys, there's kind of a gap after them. So you really do want to be not just in this lottery, but at the top half of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, I think everybody's going to have a little different interpretation of how they should rank each of these prospects. But I think it's going to lead to a fun draft. There were a few surprises last year, I felt like. And, I'm kind of excited to see what surprises there are this year, especially as I've mentioned earlier. I don't think there's a favorite. Last year, I was reasonably confident in who the top 2 players were. This year, I wouldn't be surprised with like who goes number 1 and number 2. There's no Torkelson and Martin this year, so it'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. There's no Torkelson and Martin. But yeah, so that's about all the talk we had beforehand. Erik, how are we going to do this lottery here over the air?
I am sharing my screen currently. I'm on random.org doing a random list. And I'll click the randomize button 3 times, unless there's a repeat, of course. And yeah, those teams will get the first 3 picks.
Okay, so the first team that's announced will be the team getting the first pick?
Yep. The team that's at the top of this list right here.
Gotcha.
Awesome. All right.
All right, are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Randomization number 1 in 3, 2, 1.
Yuki.
Oh,
Congratulations to Yuki. You own the number 1 pick in this draft.
He needs it.
Yeah.
Henry Davis or 1. Let's just book it now.
Let's see. Yeah, Henry Davis. If Yuki was smart, he would go with Marcelo Meyer, but I don't know. It's tough. There are a lot of guys. I mean, Marcelo Meyer, I guess, is who I would go with if I was picking first, but I don't know. And there's a lot of time. There's still the Arizona Fall League. There's a lot of chances for people to change their mind on these guys. So either way, Yuki is going to have the first pick in the draft. And just looking back at previous drafts, this team, Yuki picked 5th in 2021. He chose Asa Lacy. Back in 2020, he chose Shogo Akiyama 6th, pick that did not age super well. And then in 2019, his team was owned by Matt and Matt, and that pick was Victor Mesa. So this team needs a win in the draft. What more can we say?
Oh man, I mean, when your best pick is a player who really struggled in his first year in the minors, that's not looking so hot. But hopefully you could turn it around this year, like you said.
Hopefully.
Yeah, how about that? Won the lottery and won back-to-back lotteries, I should say.
Yeah.
Huh? That's true. Yeah. Little more luck went into the basketball one, I guess. But yeah, no. Well done, Yuki. Hopefully this pick is better than Victor Mesa.
Hopefully.
All right. You ready for number 2?
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Randomization number 2 in 3, 2, 1. Oh, gotta do it again because Yuki showed up at the top. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Andrew. So Andrew, who took Spencer Torkelson last year first overall. This is it was his number called, not the Ruth Vick one that was traded to Andrew. But he is going to have the second pick in the draft. Very exciting for him. Last year, as we all know, in the first round, he took Spencer Torkelson after winning the lottery. Back in 2020, he had picks 3 and 4, where he got JJ Bleday, a good pick, and then Yoshi Sasugo, not as good of a pick, but a guy who kind of had a good September this year after he was long gone from that team. He also took Riley Green, 11th overall. That wasn't a lottery pick. And then this team, back when it was previously owned by, who was AJ and Max, they did not have a first round pick back in 2019. So yeah, Andrew's going to be picking 2nd overall.
Yeah. Oh man, you took EBO took Alec DeBome with AJ and Max's pick that year, who was now a member of your team. I think this is really good for Andrew. I mean, he's really been building up that farm system. I mean, Lodolo had a great year. Obviously, Blade, as we've mentioned, Torkelson. You got Kyber Ruiz, is a really good catcher prospect. Like, there's a lot of solid pieces in this farm, and you're starting to see the major league team come together as well. So I'm excited for the trajectory of this team. I don't think he's going to pick Henry Davis, given that he has Will Smith, Kyber Ruiz, and Francisco Alvarez already. But if Meyer doesn't go number one, I think Meyer would be a great pick here. Or honestly, I think, you and I discussed in the previous segment, Cam, the importance of starting pitchers. I wouldn't be surprised if he pairs, his elite hitter prospect in Torkelson with an elite pitcher prospect of Jack Leiter or Jackson Joby.
Sorry, it's Job.
Oh, Job. There you go.
Jackson Job.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Leiter or Job, or really anyone. It's going to be hard to miss it too in this draft.
Yeah.
Andrew definitely. He doesn't need number one as much as other teams do. He's really built his farm system up, but yeah, picking it two could be. He could get one of his centerpieces right here.
Yeah, he does have what I think is one of the best middle infields in our league, with Ozzy Albies at second, and I know he's Cronenworth, who it's a good question. He's actually going to retain shortstop eligibility. I don't know if he played enough there this year with Tatis playing the outfield for a bit and also being hurt. He did indeed. He'll retain eligibility. So I don't know if he necessarily needs to grab one of the shortstop prospects, but I think if he does, he could really build one of the best infields in the league for years to come.
Yeah, that's true. His farm isn't super strong up the middle. He's got Justin Foscue at second base, who's solid, and then Wilman Diaz, who was an international draft pick last year. Both of these guys, I believe, he took in last year's draft. He certainly. I mean, if one of those shortstop prospects is there, they'd be hard to pass up.
No, definitely. And I think the other thing we have to consider too is he's going to have another top 6 pick. And given the number of shortstop prospects, if he perceives that one of these starting pitcher prospects is like clearly a superior and he likes more of the shortstop prospects, I could see him taking like whatever shortstop prospect is left with the next pick and prioritizing a starting pitcher or another position early on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that Leiter is the superior pitching prospect. I'd be very surprised if Job, unless there's like a super Homer Tigers fan, I'd be surprised if Job went before Leiter.
I think there's some in the industry who like Job better than Leiter. I don't know how big that number is, but I think I'd personally pick Leiter over Job, but I do see the argument the other way. And we've been surprised before.
That's true. We certainly have been surprised before. But yeah, speaking of surprises, maybe there would be a surprise at number 3. Ready to do that?
Yeah, watch it be the Andrew 10% pick. I'm calling it.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Randomization number 3 in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, it's me.
Oh no.
All right.
Fuck.
I love to see this.
This is bad for the league.
All
right.
Yeah, so the number 2 seed in this year's playoffs will be picking 3rd in this year's draft. There are a lot of things I can do with this. Including trade it. Maybe this pick won't even be with me on draft day. We're gonna have to see, but this has to hurt for Jake and Clayton
Well,
just missing the playoffs and then missing out on that 3rd pick.
So significant too, because if the lottery odds did not land on you there, that would have been a 6th pick. So that's that's a pretty big swing. I mean, I'll let you speculate on what that means for your farm system more in depth. But honestly, I feel like you just do a good job of kind of identifying the right prospects. And I think you're just going to pick the best available prospect. I don't think you necessarily have a need or an agenda where you have to pick a certain type of player over another. And like you said, you might even trade that pick. But I'm curious to more hear your detailed thoughts as opposed to me.
Yeah, that's true. And I haven't done a ton of scouting ahead of this. I would say it's no secret that it would be a shock if I took Henry Davis since I've got Adley Rutschman, and then just would be hard to see me taking more catchers and putting that in my situation here. So let's look back at my previous drafts. I did not pick in the first or second rounds last year. But I have, 2020 with my first round pick, I took a catcher, Adley Rutschman. In 2019, I picked third overall, and I took another catcher, Joey Bart. And I also took Jared Kelenic 12th overall. So this will be my fourth first round pick in league history. So I've taken catchers in the top three twice already. So maybe if you're spotting a pattern, you could see Henry Davis, but it would be a little foolish if I did that with Adley still on my team. As for anything else, I mean, I don't know. I could really just take best available. I would love to have one of the shortstops. But I do feel like I'm pretty deep there, especially with the breakout of Anthony Volpe. If Jack Leiter is there, he'd be hard to pass up. But really, this draft is my oyster, and I am loving this.
I don't love this. The two things I'll say is one, a starting pitcher could make sense for you, just kind of given the breakdown of your farm system. You are very batter heavy, and while you do have Grayson Rodriguez, the best pitching prospect in baseball, and you have a couple other solid ones here. Eater, Tanach Thomas, Ethan Hankins, Kyle Harrison. I mean, I feel like other than Grayson Rodriguez, it's not really top level talent. So adding a second starter like Jack Leiter, who is a top level talent, I think could be very good for you. The second thing, Clayton and Jake, this is the second consecutive year where they have had the third overall pick, but traded it away. Last year, Alex and Zach had their pick and they took Max Meyer. And if I remember correctly, that might have been the Royce Lewis deal.
That is correct.
That is correct. But Erik was the one who traded that pick for Royce Lewis. So I wonder where Clayton and Jake's, see if I can search this up quickly, where their 2021 first came from. Actually, Cam did a nice job of putting that together. They had to pick one from Jake and Clayton, to Erik, in a deal that I am having a hard time finding right now on the sheet.
It's probably the Marcelo Zuna Jorge Soler deal.
Oh man, that is that deal. Oh no.
Oh, and here's something. So I got this pick. This pick I got alongside Trevor May. This was last year when I was trading 2021 picks for 2022 picks and getting a little something extra. So I got Trevor May and what turned out to be the third overall pick in this year's draft for the third overall pick in last year's draft, actually. For Alex and Zach's pick for the seventh overall pick in last year's draft, which ended up going to Erik and became Emerson Hancock. So really, I think this deal worked out really well for me. I gave up 7 for 3 and some holds. So I'm very happy with this.
I don't like that. Your gain is not joyful for me. But this is where we're at, and we have to accept this. Depressing.
Yep. That means Greg, Daniel, and Alex have the 4th pick. Alex and Zach have the 5th, and then Andrew has the 6th.
All right. Yeah, so we can run quickly through the other lottery teams and how they've done in the past. So Greg, Daniel, and Alex, that team, they picked 2nd last year. They took Austin Martin. The previous year, their pick went to Andrew, but they took Nick Lodolo 8th overall, with the pick that originally belonged to Ruth, Vic, and Nick. And then in 2019, this team took Trevor Larnach 5th overall. And then picking 5th, that's Alex and Zach, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had 3 and 4 last year. They took Max Meyer and Ha-Sung Kim. I admittedly have not looked into Max Meyer much this year. How has he done?
Oh, that's a good question. Max
I think he's
Meyer.
doing very well.
Yeah.
Very well. Okay. Yeah, because Kim hasn't been that great currently, so it'd be great for them if Meyer was the good pick. I know I was on the Lacey train, which has not gone super well for me. Before that, they took CJ Abrams 5th in 2020 with their own pick, and that one has worked out pretty well for them. And then 2019, this team, which was owned by Max and Teo, took Nolan Gorman 4th overall, who ended up on my team. And then finally, that 6th pick overall will be Andrew's other pick, which originally was Ruth, Vic, and Nick's. And we went through Andrew's previous lottery already. So yeah, I want to run down one more time what the top 6 in this draft will be.
Yep. It'll be Yuki with the 1st pick, Andrew with the 2nd, and Cam with the 3rd, Greg, Daniel, and Alex with the 4th, Alex and Zach with the 5th, and Andrew with the 6th.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I can't stress enough how excited I am. This, I mean, on one hand, it would have been fun to do this with the group and get to brag in front of a lot of people. But it was fun to do it in here, and maybe and I can't wait for everyone to hear about this.
I'm not liking this at all. But life goes on.
Life goes on.
All right. Was there anything else we want to go into before we wrap up this segment?
No, I believe that was everything we had. Congratulations once again to Yuki on the number 1 pick in the draft. This will be sometime in January. We'll be doing this just like in previous years.
Yep.
All right. Awesome. Looking forward to it. We got a lot of scouting ahead of us.
Yeah, oh, yeah, definitely. It's going to be a lot of scouting, a lot of trades. Who knows if the 6 picks, the order that they are right now is going to be the same order come draft day. I'm willing to bet at least one of those picks is traded.
Oh, I would agree with you there. We are known to have a lot of picks, and just look back to last year. The number 4 pick was traded on draft day, so anything can happen here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be crazy.
All right. Yeah. So thank you, Erik, for coming on for the awards and for the lottery. Is there anything else we had to talk about today?
No, just that the ballot should be out later that night of whenever you guys release this episode, and then due date is to be determined, just probably a day before whenever we commit to recording the next one.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Definitely. Same here. As Justin Turner just hits a solo shot off of Adam Wainwright. It is a tie game.
Let's go.
Oh, man. Nuts.
All right. Yeah. Well, yeah, everyone, until next time, get your votes in, and we'll see you for the results.
Yep. No, see you then.
Gotta vote! Exercise your rights, you gotta vote! Put up a fight, you gotta vote! This podcast is good.